Janice, are you there?
At your service, sir.
Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
Will do, sir.
And you have no independent knowledge of the facts underlying the alleged abuse, correct?
I have the knowledge of the plethora of documents that I've reviewed in this case.
No, I'm asking you your independent firsthand knowledge. You have none of that, right?
You mean whether I was there?
Yeah, you weren't there.
Of course not.
Okay.
Amber Heard's biased psychologist dismantled by Johnny Depp's lawyer. Analysis. Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. It's been a while. We are very busy at the moment working on a big project. So we had to cut out the noise, distractions, and unfortunately some of the things that we love to do, like contributing to the Manosphere and being a part of the male voice that needs to be heard. The hardest part of the project is over, and now we hope to make at least 2 videos a week for the time being. I've read some of the comments. Man, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys for your support. We really appreciate it. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. This is must-watch television. Every man should watch this. When we talk about protecting yourself at all times, this is what we're talking about. You want to avoid the court system like the plague. And Amber Heard wanted this because the court system is biased towards women. Fortunately, Johnny Depp came prepared with evidence, but it doesn't matter how you slice it, he is in a lose-lose situation. Winning this case is not going to get him back what he lost and has been dealing with for the last 5-6 years. However, winning this case is great for his reputation because a good reputation is more valuable than money. Now let's take a look at how one of Johnny Depp's lawyers dismantles Amber Heard's psychologist. And of course, we're gonna hit it off with the "we men and we" chant. Now it's time for us to dive into this and do what we have to do. Because we men and we. We men and we.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, you said we were going to have to pay attention to gendered stereotypes, and then you testified at length where you referenced both men and women. You paid attention to those stereotypes during the course of your testimony, correct?
What I was saying was you have to pay attention to gendered stereotypes when you're conducting these evaluations. You can't assume all the time that the male is the perpetrator and the female is the victim. You have to go into the evaluation understanding that the male also could be the victim of intimate partner violence.
In fact, you're aware that there are large-scale studies that do say that IPV towards males does exist.
Of course.
Okay.
This is the art of war. This is not checkers, this is chess. And the lawyer just built the trap that the psychologist herself is gonna fall into. He only provides the shovels so she can dig her own grave. He makes sure that the psychologist confirms that she is aware of the gender stereotypes and the studies that prove that men are also victims of IPV. Janice, IPV.
Intimate partner violence, IPV, is abuse or aggression that occurs in a romantic relationship. Intimate partner refers to both current and former spouses and dating partners. IPV can vary in how often it happens and how severe it is.
The psychologist says that you can't assume that males are always the perpetrators and the females are the victims. In other words, you must be objective when conducting your evaluation. Let's take it a step further.
Yes.
He hands over a transcript.
Thank you.
Let's go to page 77. Page 78, line 8. So you can't recall a single instance where you were hired by the attorney representing the male in an IPV matter, correct?
In an IPV matter, not in a trauma matter or a child sexual abuse matter.
Okay, so that's the distinction. You don't have any recollection of ever testifying on behalf of a male in an IPV matter.
As I stated yesterday, the very first case that I testified in was in a same-sex intimate partner violence where the man was the victim of another man. I routinely treat and assess same-sex couples where then the female can be the perpetrator of another female and the male can be the perpetrator or a victim of his partner.
So, let me get this. You testified in a case where one male is alleged to have engaged in IPV against another male.
Correct.
All right. Okay.
Correct. Uh-oh. This psychologist doesn't have experience with heterosexual IPV, where the male is the victim. She talks about male victims of same-sex IPV, female perpetrators of same-sex IPV. There is a difference between heterosexual relationships and same-sex relationships. Yet, she is on the stand as a witness, as an expert witness, in a case where the male, in this case Johnny Depp, claims to be the victim of IPV. It gets better. They get into a document.
You recognize that document?
Yes, it looks like the front page of a PowerPoint presentation
And it's a PowerPoint presentation given by whom?
by myself and Mary Ann Dutton, who is a very well-known and respected researcher and clinician in the area of domestic violence.
And what's the topic of the PowerPoint that you're giving?
Expert witness testimony in cases involving domestic violence.
And who did you give this presentation to?
That was to the National Clearinghouse for the Defense of Battered Women. That is an organization that provides legal services to women who have assaulted or killed their partners in self-defense, and mostly people who these individuals, the women who they've seen in treatment, are through shelter-based programs or through advocates, and those are individuals who don't really know how to come into the courtroom and talk, and that's what this presentation and training was for.
Aha! A presentation for women. She has done multiple presentations, but never for male victims. Check this out.
I'm going to move PX 1241 into evidence.
Any objection? All right, 1241 in evidence. You want it published or?
Yes, let's publish it to the jury. Thank you.
Okay.
The document is put in the evidence bin without any objection. How much proof do you need? When it comes to help for male victims of abuse, it's hard to find. It's not taken seriously, and Johnny Depp is a great example of what a man has to go through in order to be believed. Amber Heard knows this. Of course, her legal team knows this, and women in general know this. That's why they have no problems with this court system, because it favors women. Why?
Why?
That's the next point. Check this out.
At your deposition, you testified that you were going to be paid $100 an hour for your time in this case.
I did not testify to that.
You did not?
That's an error in the transcript.
Oh, that's not right.
That's correct.
So, and you corrected the transcript?
We did not do an errata in the transcript at this point.
So you knew there was an error in the transcript, but you didn't fix it?
There were several errors in the transcript.
But you didn't fix any of them?
There was no time to fix them, that's correct.
All right. So you're not being paid $100 an hour. How much are you getting?
I'm being paid $500 an hour.
$500 an hour. And that's what, and that's the bill you sent for your deposition, right? $500 an hour.
Correct.
Follow the money and you will get your answers. The court system is a money-making machine. She makes $500 an hour, but in the transcript it says $100 an hour. Johnny Depp's legal team is fully aware of this. That's why they bring it up. As a psychologist, you can make an honest assessment and lose all of this money. As a lawyer, you can choose not to defend someone who's clearly guilty and lose all of this money. These judges also benefit from this system. That's why this case put him on the hot seat. The world is watching. This is televised, and just like me, a lot of people will be analyzing what's going on. This psychologist is a hired witness to give Amber Heard some form of credibility. But Johnny Depp's lawyer is picking her apart, and it's only getting worse. Check this out.
And you have no independent knowledge of the facts underlying the alleged abuse, correct?
I have the knowledge of the plethora of documents that I've reviewed in this case.
No, I'm asking you your independent first-hand knowledge. You have none of that, right?
You mean whether I was there?
Yeah, you weren't there.
Of course not.
Okay.
This is gold. She was not an eyewitness. She wasn't there. That's why she answers with, and I quote, "I have the knowledge of the plethora of documents that I have reviewed in this case." End quote. The reason this question is essential is because there's now pressure on the research she has done to reach her conclusions. Now look at how he sets her up. Let's get into it.
And you're not testifying to the veracity, the truthfulness of any of the allegations.
Correct. I'm testifying to the consistency of the data points of all the different documents, including the psychological testing and the clinical evaluation that I conducted of Ms. Heard, and how that comports with the therapy records and all the other documents and the photos and texts that I reviewed.
And you have no personal knowledge of any abuse.
Correct, personally. Correct.
Right. And all you know is what Ms. Heard self-reported to you and others.
That's not correct.
Because you did collateral interviews?
And I reviewed medical records, and I reviewed other witness statements of what they witnessed and what they saw.
And all of those statements that you reviewed, those were statements that started with Ms. Heard, correct?
Not necessarily.
Well, the medical records did, didn't they?
Well, the medical records, if she's self-reporting what happened to her, sure. I mean, that's what we do when we go to a physician. We say, I have a headache. We're self-reporting our difficulty.
Yeah. Everything Ms. Heard reported directly to you was after she was sued by Mr. Depp in this case, correct?
Correct.
This is pure gold. Oh my goodness. Before he drops the bomb, he first lets her talk about all the things she's been doing. All the documents, all the medical files, building everything up like she is a credible source, just to take it away with a yes or no question that the psychologist cannot deny. He did not only take away the credibility of her research, he also took away the credibility of the psychologist herself. And he's not even done yet. It gets worse.
All right, several times yesterday you used language about assessing Ms. Heard's relationship with Mr. Depp. You remember talking about that?
Sure.
You can't assess a relationship without talking to both parties, can you?
You certainly can get a lot of information from one party, absolutely.
But
And
you're
especially
gonna-
when it's buttressed by other documents, including 4 years of therapy records and couples therapy records, you can get a lot of information based on those documents and that contemporaneous reports of the relationship.
Respectfully, I didn't ask whether you get a lot of information. I asked whether you can assess a relationship without talking to both parties.
I believe you can. There are certainly limitations inherent in that, but you certainly can.
The foolishness. Janice, assessment.
Assessment. The act of judging or deciding the amount, value, quality, or importance of something, or the judgment or decision that is made.
The foolishness of Amber Heard's legal team to put this psychologist on the witness stand is costing them this case. However, they don't have much to work with anyway. And these lawyers are getting paid a lot of money, so they have to do something. This woman got paid and she's been part of many cases. Absolutely terrifying. She's clearly biased.
You talked to Ms. Heard for approximately 30 hours, right?
Correct.
How long you spent with Mr. Depp?
I did not spend any time with Mr. Depp. It was my understanding that he did not sit for a psychological evaluation.
Right. In fact, you never met Mr. Depp, have you?
I have not.
But you purport to be able to assess the relationship between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
But I also read Mr. Depp's transcripts of his testimony. I watched his deposition testimony. I reviewed his medical records. I reviewed his text messages. So it's not necessarily totally blind. I did have information, although I'm not making a conclusion about Mr. Depp himself.
Is the standard now not necessarily totally blind?
You're not making a conclusion about Johnny Depp, yet you are here to testify for Amber Heard about the relationship she had with Johnny Depp, without even meeting him in person and listening to his side of the story to make a fair assessment. It doesn't matter what she says at this point. Credibility is lost. A presumption of innocence means that any defendant in a criminal trial is assumed to be innocent until have been proven guilty. As such, a prosecutor is required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the person committed the crime if that person is to be convicted. To do so, proof must be shown for every single element of a crime. And the thing is, women can get away with this crap. And if you want to fight it, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. That's why you have to protect yourself at all times. Prevention is better than cure. This is not worth it, man. I hope Johnny Depp wins this case. It's looking very promising. But hey, I'm not a judge.
And you said you reviewed you interviewed Dr. Connell.
That's correct.
And you also reviewed his deposition testimony.
That's correct.
And you know that he testified that when he was treating a patient, he assumes the patient is telling the truth, correct?
I believe he said something to that effect in his deposition.
Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.